Hello everyone, this is day 4 of Watches and Wonders. Time is ticking, so let's dive straight into the program. Welcome to the morning show of Watches and Wonders. I'm Olivia Chang, and every morning I'll be giving you a sneak peek into the world of watchmaking. For the next 30 minutes, we'll bring you everything you need to know for the day ahead. And as we've been saying all week, sit back, relax, and most importantly, enjoy the show. As usual, let's start the day off with a look at all the brand announcements and highlights from day 3.
Snow was falling as visitors arrived at Watches and Wonders ahead of a full program reminding them of nature, Earth, and our place in the universe. Watchmaking and astronomy have long gone hand in hand in a tradition that has continued till now for Gégère Lecoultre.
In fact, for centuries, men have tried to reproduce the exact cycles of the universe and the planets into watches. However, the cycles are precise, but our measurement of time is not exactly matching these cycles. They create special challenge for the watchmakers that need to engineer, perpetual calendars and movements that are correcting these anomalies of time to bring back our time to the cycles of the planets.
The brand scientific advisor, also the 2019 Nobel laureate in physics, put our planet's place within the universe into perspective.
So as an astronomer, I use my pitch usually to remind everybody there is plenty of planets, plenty of stars, yes, but there is only one when we can safely live. Is this that one we are in, which is planet Earth? So we should really taking care of our planet.
That message and the importance to produce more sustainably resonated among other watchmakers.
We know that there is a countdown from the global deterioration of the environment. So we put ourselves under pressure to come with new ideas on a regular basis. That's what we do this year by announcing that 75% of our units will be in the future switch from steel to e-steel.
If you look around you here, how many objects will still be potentially working in 400 years? Not many. A watch, a mechanical watch of good quality, yes. Watchmaker, a bit of oil, he regulates it, it should be working. So the message is very strong to younger people because it's a product that will last forever.
For the young as well as the young at heart, the next days at the Geneva Fair will certainly reveal more on how sustainability actions are changing the industry.
Now we'll break this down further in just a moment. Delighted to have Andrew McCutcheon joining us. He's the founder at Time and Tide Watches, and if I'm not mistaken, it's a fellow Australian here.
Really? No, that's great, Olivia.
You learn something new every day. So obviously you've travelled a long way to get here. Simple question, was it worth the flight?
Oh, absolutely. Look, in the time I've been here, there's been the launch of the thinnest mechanical watch ever by Bulgari. There's been the Omega Swatch, Moon Swatch, and then now we're back, it's the big show. So absolutely, it's worth it.
And as we just saw from the day 3 recap, there was a lot to digest, a lot of novelties coming out, a lot of action. So if you could pinpoint for us, what stands out to you in particular?
Look, I think yesterday I was really reminded of how many new approaches are coming into watchmaking. Not only are we seeing sort of the intersection of things like sustainability and the environment with watches, but also a brand like Grand Seiko bringing its first high complication, and meeting the president and talking about the designer of the watch as a rock star in himself. I mean, he is a professional musician, but I think these are the sorts of conversations that are so fresh for me after 10 years in the industry, seeing a brand bringing an amazing complication like the Constant Force Tourbillon, but also putting forward this young designer dressed in designer clothes who is so passionate about music, and somehow this different approach to watchmaking has resulted in such an amazing piece.
So you said you've obviously been in the industry for 10 years.
Yes.
You're a familiar face at all these events. What is something that maybe strikes you compared to all the years before, whether it's the atmosphere or the collections?
Look, I just think it is this. There's brands, again, like Parmigiani Fleurier yesterday, seeing the Tonda GMT. There's brands that are really pushing, and there's brands that are, I think that the level of imagination, the level of creativity, I think it's starting to, in a world where, you know, the social media cycle is so quick and our videos are constantly churning out and people see them and move on to the next thing. To me, there's a real effort from brands to be creative and to bring something that excites people, as opposed to perhaps in other years there was maybe a little bit of complacency about just changing a dial color or, you know, slowly, incrementally moving collections forward. We're seeing leaps of entirely new ideas, which I think is making my job very fun.
Well, I can sense the excitement coming out from you. And Andrew, I hope you have a wonderful flight back to Australia, maybe sunny Melbourne. Let's see.
Yes, I know. It's certainly not snowing in Melbourne, I tell you that.
So take care, okay? Thank you very much for joining us. More to come. We sit down with CEOs and find out what makes them tick. It's time now to take a view from the top, and for our very first guest, we're joined by Guido Terrini, CEO of Parmigiani Fleurier. You arrived at the Parmigiani Fleurier family over 1 year ago as CEO. So put us in your shoes. What was it like that moment walking into the house in this new role?
Well, good morning. It was a tremendous experience, very, very interesting, very human. And it was, it still is. It's an adventure that, first of all, is about people. So finding the values of the brand, finding the values of the founder, Michel, and working with people to do things that are innovative has been really great.
Now that you've had this year of reflection and experience, what is the vision that you see bringing to the table?
Well, when you're dealing with a brand like Parmigiani Fleurier, you have something delicate in your hands. So it's something that you need to take care of and do it with a lot of deepness. And it is a brand who is interested and interesting, of understatement and competence. And so we are very appealing to people that are very discreet and they're not loud and they're elegant and refined. And so we're looking forward and we're finding a style and we're finding a way to please these exigent customers with a lot of creativity and with a lot of innovation.
If I look at the company's timeline, in fact, September 2021 seems to stand out as an especially important date for the company. Tell us why this might be a turning point or such a milestone.
Well, it's been the unveiling of the first collection that I had the pleasure to lead. And it was the Tonda PF, which is now redefining the brand identity of the brand. But I didn't invent anything. It was secretly in the brand, all these beautiful aesthetic codes that we brought to life in a way that are very understandable and very readable. And now we have defined a style that is a rich minimalism, the very, very pure aesthetic, but with a craft that is outstanding.
In the style of Parmigiani Fleurier, as you mentioned, very discreet, at the same time still very relevant. Since we're all gathered at Watches and Wonders, why don't you give us a taste of the brand's novelties?
Well, when you have launched such a turning point in a brand, because it's really incredible the reaction we had on the Tonda PF, the aim is to introduce very few novelties, but that have relevance. So we're not going to add an assortment, which is a plenty of variants. We're trying to do things that have an ambition to be important. And we are unveiling a world premiere because we don't believe that everything has already been done in watchmaking. We can do new things if you have ideas. And so we are introducing a world premiere that is called the Tonda PF GT Rattrapante. Never before in the history of watchmaking a rattrapante function has been used outside a chronograph, and we have done it to have a GMT à la carte that you use when you need it, but when you don't use it, you have just a two-hand watch, which is extremely elegant and refined.
So a lot of milestones already since you stepped into this role, I can see. Final question, high-end independent niche brands. What is potential and trend that we see there?
Well, I think we are at the verge of next 10 years will be very, very, very creative. I think at the level of the 70s, that has been an extraordinary decade. And this is, in my opinion, a lot due to the independents, because they have the courage to push the boundaries of watchmaking. and to please a customer which is exigent, which is not mainstream, which doesn't follow the crowd, and that is looking for a different watch. But it's not just different, it's not just extravagance. It has to be with taste, it has to be long-lasting, it has to be something that is worthwhile forever, and that is luxury. So it's, I think independent brands have the courage to do this because they are not on a rail of a business which is huge and to maintain, but they have the agility and the choice to appeal to fewer people.
Well, Mr. Tiretti, thank you so much for sharing that. And I think the key word here is going to be creativity, as we've just heard throughout this morning. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
We are not wasting any time because now we're joined by Benjamin Coma, CEO of Piaget. Good morning and welcome.
Morning,
Thank you
Olivia.
so much for joining us on the show. The story of Piaget starts in 1874, and for a company with so much history, how do you marry innovation and heritage?
I think innovation is our heritage. You know, we started, as you mentioned, in 1874 in La Côte aux Fées, in the Swiss Jura, manufacturing movements, extra thin movements for other watch brands. So you had to be doing better than necessary in order to continue the business. So we are mastering of the extra thin movements since then, and that was the innovation. But innovation comes as well from design. It's not only innovation of technical, and after in the 50s, 60s, 70s, all these watches with dials, with hardstone dials, or with necklaces with watches that was developed by the Piaget family, is as well the innovation of the brand.
So Piaget also likes to call itself a master of contrast. Can you share an example of how this is exactly reflected in your timepieces?
Yeah, it's true. I mean, we can illustrate by two examples that we're doing this year. Is obviously our Altiplano Ultimate Concept, which is our ultra-thin watch, which is our quest for beauty, for elegance, but as well for design. And we launched this watch 3 years ago. And now we, this year, made an edition as a tribute to our watchmakers that worked 6 years to develop this watch. And we call it Constellation. And it's a tribute to the very moment where the first heartbeat of the watch came to life on February 7th, I think 2017, at 7:47 p.m. So we pay tribute that with a constellation, superluminova of the sky at this very moment in time, which is a milestone in the Piaget history. And on the other side, we have this ultra extravagant Limelight Gala collection, which we're going to be celebrating 50th anniversary next year, which has this Latin extravaganza with those two asymmetric horns. That's a very dareful and recognized and unique product on the market. So that's how we are the master of contrast, as you mentioned.
And I want to stick with this because speaking of master of contrast, there's the calm municipality of La Côte aux Fées in Switzerland, as you mentioned, to the glamour of La Côte d'Azur in France. I mean, these are two very different worlds. Just tell us how Piaget manages to balance these two extremes.
It's the first sentence I heard from Yves Piaget when I had lunch with him when I started. Is you know, Benjamin, this is a very simple brand. It's from La Côte aux Fées to La Côte d'Azur. So it's this master of elegance, of craftsmanship, of rigorness that you can find in the Swiss Jura, but as well the glamourness, the glamour of what you see in Côte d'Azur. And I told him, how did you do those exceptional pieces when you arrive in Geneva in 1943? And he told me, you know, I wanted to be different from the other watch company that was there on the market. So I did those very extravagant pieces, and I went to the Côte d'Azur and find some customer friends, and all the Piaget Society starts from there.
Well, let's say you never get bored because you can always switch between these two worlds. And finally, let me just finish with two words, extravaganza. Tell our audience exactly what you mean by this.
Yeah, we try to sum up, obviously, the values of the company, and it's the bold extravaganza and the ultimate elegance. So we build this world extravaganza, which it's a constant dialogue in all our actions in order to have those two values, those values of sophistication, elegance, of extravagance, of boldness, but as well of common joy, shared joy that we feel in this company. So that's the word that is leading our actions.
I think that sums it up very nicely. Bringing these two worlds together. Maybe we'll see this word in the dictionary down the line.
I hope
Who
so.
knows?
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Olivia.
Take care.
Have a good day.
Now, Julien Tornat joins us as the CEO for our final CEO segment. You've been CEO since 2017, leading the company through a period of both transformation and rejuvenation. In your view, what are the main ingredients for Zenith's brand strategy?
Good morning, Olivia, and
Good
thank
morning.
you for welcoming me. Obviously, the most important is the people. And I have to say, 5 years ago when I came, I had really to work on the teams and think about how can they have the right mindset to run this transformation. So that was literally my main challenge, and I have to say that most of the people adjusted, adapted, can understand the vision, where we were heading, and basically move to this dynamic of having a strong heritage, being a very authentic brand, but still turn to the future, looking for innovation and for creativity.
So in your mind, what are the success stories that come out when it comes to the brand strategy that you've seen over the years?
Quite a lot, I mean, but you know, again, Zenith has so many great creativity in its history that what we needed to do is to put it back on stage, but in a modern way, in a way that people can perceive that. And I think it translated today on our booth with the different atmosphere, the different concept that you can find. I mean, whether it's Zenith Icons, it's the Dream Hers initiative dedicated to women that have achieved incredible things. And it's really a company that continues to turn to the future. So that's the main message that you feel when you get on our booth again.
You mentioned Dreamers. I want to touch on that. So your strategy has not only this platform for visionary women, but it also spans to Extreme E, so electric racing championships. Essentially, you cover a very wide spectrum and audience.
Yes and no, because you know, again, if you are a brand turned to the future, you cannot only do it from a technical point of view. You also have to do it from your values and what's happening in the society. And today, Dream Hers is a platform that gives voice to women that have achieved incredible things in different fields. Sometimes in fields that historically have not been so easy for women to become leaders, and it's been done in a great way under the philosophy of the brand, which is time to reach your star. So how do you go and reach your own star? That's the main thing. And this Dreamhurst platform has been a great success for us, despite the fact that it was mostly digital so far.
Well, at least we're in person right
Absolutely.
now. One other thing, Zenith also has a number of big name ambassadors in its family. Just walk us through the process of how you choose and select personalities that reflect the company.
True. You know, I talk about authenticity, and that's a super important value to Zenith. So we really wanted our ambassadors, our friend of the brand, to embrace this authenticity. That means I'm not so interested in the big, I would say, the red carpet effect. I think it's been used and used, and we believe more in people that can stand on a stage and tell about their story, how they went from very beginning to reaching their star, and what's the path, what's the process, to inspire individuals to go for the same achievement.
Wonderful. And since we have so many watch enthusiasts tuning in, maybe tell us the key launches that we should keep our eyes out for. What's around the corner for Zenith?
I mean, mostly these are logical developments that we're bringing today with our Chronomaster collection that was relaunched last year with a huge success of the Chronomaster Sport, and we decided to decline it in a full pink gold version as well as a bicolor. And another big launch, important also, is the watch I'm wearing, which is the Chronomaster Open. The Open concept is actually you open part of the dial and you show this fantastic El Primero movement and the heartbeat of the movement. The concept was not invented by me or by someone now. It was in 2003 by one of my predecessors, but we decided to relaunch it in the new design, and this is an important milestone. I know many collectors and clients were waiting for it.
And I think people can see that all up close and personal at the booth. You spoke about mindset at the beginning, and from you just talking to me, I can see that there's a lot of energy coming from you. So you definitely seem to have the right mindset.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Olivia. Have a great day.
You too.
Thank you.
Take care. I think a lot of people joining us now will know what time it is. It's time for Timepiece Talk, where we show you a first look at a lot of new collections and watches and walk you through all the finer details. Our panel of experts joining us today, very familiar faces. We have Joanna Langer to my left, Carson Chan to my right,
Morning.
and of course Gianfranco Richel sitting next to Joanna. Now, we have quite a few watches to get through today. It's going to be a busy morning. So, Joanna, why don't we start with Arnold & Son? What is this paying tribute to?
Sure. So this is the Arnold & Son Ultra Thin Tourbillon. It's paying tribute to John Arnold, who made some of the most accurate marine chronometers in the 18th century. And actually, we can see this on the flying tourbillon at 6 o'clock position. We have an anchor, and we have also a sextant, which is used for the bridges of the tourbillon, and really paying tribute to this marine chronometry and really precise timekeeping from this time.
But beautiful dispatching of the two indication on the upper side, the dial below this flying tourbillon. And if you turn it on the other side, you will even see a beautiful mechanical movement decorated in the traditional way in watchmaking, with this beautiful sunray Côte de Genève phenomena starting from the balance wheel, which it's in another color, I think. Can we see that in the camera?
Yes, it's actually in 18 karat gold. It's beautifully done, and you can see the bridge is in gold right here.
And the dial, it's also interesting. If you turn it back, it's a grainy, dark grainy, fumé dial, which is really original to highlight the two indications.
Glittery. What is
Exactly,
it? How
yeah,
is it made?
this is actually a gold powder, and it's mixed with aluminium sparkles. That's giving it that sparkle, and this texture, the grainy d'orge texture. It really gives this 3D effect. So really, you can like dive into this dial.
And for a long time, 100-hour power reserve.
Nice. I love the combination of the platinum case with this green dial.
Yeah.
So I think green, we see something again.
I think so.
Joanna, moving on to the next one. This is from Cirrus. Very interesting name, Dye Slime. Maybe you just walk us through, first of all, what that means.
Yeah, so Cirrus Klepsis Dye Slime. Dice, not a game in this instance, so it's standing for Double Independent Chronograph Evolution. So if you take a look at this watch, you may think, and you can be excused for thinking that it's a retropont. However, in this watch we have two independent moving chronographs, and it's done in a very novel way. So they're both monopusher chronographs. On the crown, on the 3 o'clock position, we have the pusher, which is activating the central seconds hand, which is also in green. And that is powered by the column wheel, which is also in green, so very well color code coordinated. And on the other side, at the 9 o'clock position, we have the yellow trimming on the crown, which is showing and activating through the yellow column wheel the yellow chrono central seconds hand.
Wow, so it's actually two monopusher within one watch.
Exactly.
Can I show you how it
Please,
runs? Okay,
yeah.
so this here, the green button, controls everything in the green. Now, this at 9 o'clock, the yellow button
And all that visible, you see all the components. There are more than 440 components in this movement, and most of them are dedicated to the visible chronograph on the front. That's a really spectacular view and the technical part of the watch.
Exactly. This is a real feature of Cirrus with the 3D dials, so really seeing into the movement. And yeah, Gianfranco, as you said, like 218 components are dedicated just for the chronograph.
And it runs, even this one, 100-hour power reserve. So that's an additional challenge to that. But unfortunately, not so many people can not afford it, but enjoy that because only twice 20 pieces, twice 10 pieces even only. So it's really exclusive.
Now, time is ticking, so we have to move on to the next model. And Carson, you have the honors of presenting that one. This one from Mont Blanc, it's definitely reaching new heights. Can we say that?
Yes, absolutely. This is the Mont Blanc 1858 Geosphere. Very, very important. Zero oxygen chronograph. So the name says something. The name tells you something about zero oxygen. But before I get to that, a very interesting layout on this watch. If you look at the bezel, instead of a regular, we could see a tachymeter bezel, this one says NESW.
As marketing logo, it's a new NEW.
News.
No, it's not that.
Come on, guys.
It's actually a navigational bezel. So it's dual, both way, so you can turn it both way. Now the watch is very interesting because it is assembled under vacuum. It's assembled under vacuum, so then it's all the oxygen is sucked out of it. Why? There's two benefits. If there's no oxygen in the movement, it prevents fogging and also prevents oxidation. This is something very, very important when you are in high altitude doing mountaineering exploration.
For sure.
And I think this is extremely important for this particular watch, right? Because this exact watch is going to go to the summit of Mount Everest in May of this year. So it's going to be really tried.
And we saw the guy which will bring it there inside Purja, which is one of the most famous climber today. So that's really a tool watch, which is for extreme situation.
And let's not forget on the dial now, these two rotating globes. So you have globe for the northern hemisphere and for the southern hemisphere. They're each encircled by a 24-hour indication, day and night. So it's a great navigational watch.
And the last picture perhaps from the backside, because the Mount Everest is depicted with the track of the first time Mr. Messner went to the Mount Everest.
Gianfranco, are you tempted? Are you tempted to wear this?
Fully.
Now, we have to take a look at the next one. Carson, this stays on a theme that we also touched on yesterday. Something maybe more attractive for people who need to see two time zones at once, perhaps.
Yes, that's right. This is the Parmigiani Tonda GMT Hotchopant. Now, again, you're going to have to help me with my French.
Rattrapante. But I know, in fact, it's more used for other complications related more to a second, but not in this case, right?
No, look, take a look. The watch has a very interesting button here at 8 o'clock. Just by pressing this button, you can see each press will move the hour hand once. So this actually allows you, when you're traveling, you can adjust the time zone very easily. But look at the crown, there is a golden button here. And once you press this golden button, the Hotchopant goes back.
So it's the welcome home time.
Goes back home. This is a home time button. So you see the color coordination. You see the hands, the home time hand, and the home button. And I got to show you the movement.
And they are in gold color, right? The hour home time in gold, the pusher which activated is in gold, and behind the rotor, which fabulous symbol because the family brings you the energy through the gold rotor and the yellow pusher and the home time, the most precious moments in your life. Beautiful.
Let's not forget the case in stainless steel, but the bezel is in platinum.
And also that beautiful dial. Look at the barley corn, this very micro pattern on the dial. It's so subtle, and even the logo is quite reduced. The indices are quite reduced, so it's a beautiful elegance on your wrist.
I love the 40mm case.
Yeah, it's elegance, Italian design in a Swiss high-end watchmaking brand.
Gianfranco, to continue on with you and to get your thoughts, we're going to move on to the next model, which is the Patek Philippe, and we're also going to stick with the travel theme.
Yes, once more, it seems like it's really something interesting for all actual manager. The Patek Philippe annual calendar travel time. And for the first time in Patek Philippe, these two complications are combined in a new white gold case. And one function is the travel time, where, like before, with the pusher, you can set the second hour indication for the travel time. And well balanced, because you also have the two windows showing you which is home time and travel time, day or night indication, and a moon phase, well balanced, aesthetically speaking, on the dial. And the second function, the annual calendar. Once again, you don't have to set it every month, because there is a little mechanical brain which does it for you inside.
Two very useful functions in one watch. Now, for me, I'm particularly keen on the annual calendar. Did you know Patek Philippe is the brand that introduced these particular functions back in the 1990s?
Absolutely. But now it's combined with this second complication that makes it really unique in the collection.
And with this new self-winding caliber, they have 8 new patents for this piece. And if you see on the back, I think you can perhaps see the platinum rotor.
Yes.
So these are the little details that really set this piece apart.
And all that in a new design case. If you have a closer look on the side, you have this Clou de Paris pattern like on the Calatrava, but here on this case here, which is a different one. And this dial, which also has this fumé grained dial, looking a little bit like this historical cameras we had. So it's really...
Gives the, like a vintage look to it.
Absolutely,
right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, for the next one, Carsten, I'm just going to ask you to show it to our audience first, from the side.
Let's talk about...
Are you even holding it up? I mean, look at this. Gianfranco, explain to us what we're seeing.
It, or?
Yes, I'm showing it.
Ah, okay.
Yeah,
let's talk about the Altiplano Ultimate concept. Like the name says, it was a concept watch. And after a few years research and development, imagine, by the way, do you see the color? It's a quite dark color with some white dots on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, imagine the watchmaker during the evening, alone in his workshop. And he assembles, after a few years development, the first time the balance wheel in the mechanical movement, and it begins to beat. And that's written on the right side. At 7:47 in the evening, on the 7th February 1917 exactly,
So
it
like
began to beat.
The birth of the watch.
Yes, and this is the constellation. The white dots is the constellation over La Côte aux Fées at exactly this moment to celebrate. Yes, it's possible to do a 2mm thin wristwatch.
It's truly amazing, the cobalt material case with the case back that is integrated to the sapphire. Now, take a look at what Gianfranco explained. The starry sky actually light up. I'm going to try and see if I can show you. The studio is too bright, but you can see if you have it in a darker environment, those starry lights, it's actually luminescent, and you can see it in a darkened environment. It's a truly amazing piece. Now, I'm so sorry, not everybody is going to be able to enjoy this watch, because
One unique
Only
piece.
one single person will enjoy it.
right now I am that person enjoying it.
You're on the list.
And again, you got to see from the profile, this watch is just absolutely mind-blowing.
Achieved through combining the main plate in the case, and the components are put directly in the back case of the watch to achieve this thickness of 2mm.
And even those little details on the front with the, like, we know when the watch was born, right? So it's on the ratchet wheel, we also have La Côte Fée, and also the exact coordinates, and the starry sky at that moment. So it's really extremely unique.
a beautiful tribute to elegance through ultra-thin
Now,
mechanism.
time is ticking, so we really have to move on to the very final model. And Gianfranco, it's going to be a special one from Zenith. I think the key word here is iconic, really.
Absolutely. Like Julien Tornade, the CEO, just spoke about, so in a beautiful way, what to say more than that? Then it's an icon, absolutely. And we heard it. Something like 20 years ago, they introduced the open work on the movement. But here we have it in a little smaller dimension, 39.5 millimeter diameter, but still typical with these two counters and the third counter, which is the permanent second through a special glass, which makes it recognizable, but added the feature of open work. And we see through that.
I love this open work feature because, we see through that. I don't know if you can pick it up on the camera, but the blue silicone escape wheel through and part, of course, the heart of the movement. So really bringing the technicalities to the front of the dial. And it's a really very wearable. I love the size of this watch at 39.5 millimeters. So it's a very adaptable for a lot of wrists.
But the main benefit is what does it show the chronograph? Because we all know 36,000 vibration per hour is the signature of the El Primero. And here we have the same function, but visible this time. So it means the second hand, can you let it start? It's running, fantastic. So you see how the second hand turns once every 10 seconds around the dial in doing 10 jumps. So it means you can measure on an accuracy of a tenth of a single second. That's the achievement and the celebration of this sporty, chic, modern watch.
I love this combination of a classic movement into a very newly designed case. This is a perfect harmonious blend of what classic and contemporary all in one. This is one of my favorite.
Excellent.
Well, wonderful. Thank you so much to all our experts for joining us. You'll be seeing them every single day for the rest of the week until Tuesday. Correct? Until Tuesday, and then we'll bring you 6 or 7 new watches to surprise you with tomorrow. So thank you so much, and we'll see you very soon.
See you.
Take care. And in just a moment, we'll bring you all the action from inside Watches and Wonders. Now, as we mentioned, it's time for us to get a closer look at all the action inside Watches and Wonders. Tanya Koenig is joining us live now. Tanya, what do you have for us today?
Good morning, Olivia. Yeah, Watches and Wonders is not just a platform to showcase objects of desire, but also to announce releases to the press. Now, this is done in a dedicated area, the auditorium right behind me. So let's go inside and take a look, as this was, of course, just built for Watches and Wonders like everything else in here. Now, you can see there's a stage right behind me. There's lots of chairs, and there's a huge screen to show everything that the brands want to show. Now, one of the presentations here that attracted a wide audience was done by Tag Heuer, as everyone wanted to see their young CEO speak, their young CEO, Frédéric Arnault. Now, I had a chance to listen to a presentation done by Panerai, and they had adventurer and explorer Mike Horn here on stage. Mike spoke about his trips from the Amazonas to the Arctic, stressing the importance of sustainability. Panerai is increasingly using recycled materials for their watches, and they urged that competitors should be viewed as friends, as only together we can create a more sustainable world, meaning that by sharing knowledge, others don't need to invest years into research. Now, Mike also emphasized that we should all try to use the maximum influence on other people to make this world a more sustainable one. Now, this was just one of the presentations done here in the auditorium. Olivia, I'm sure that you have all the information for what is coming up next happening here, and therefore I hand it back to you.
That's true. Thank you so much, Tanya, for sharing that. A lot of action, as she mentioned, staying at the auditorium, because there are big keynotes to look forward to. Just going to list them here. They're from Roger Dubuis, Lange and Söhne, Ulysse Nardin, as well as Parmigiani Fleurier. And all of this can be caught at the auditorium. as we know, the Fondation is going to be hosting a panel discussion every day at 1 p.m. Pascal Ravsud from the Fondation joins us here to get a bit of a taste from what we've been seeing. Yesterday, we looked at sustainable sourcing and practices. What did you leave from that panel discussion?
Good morning, Olivia. Well, yesterday was a very lively discussion because sustainable sourcing is basically the bulk of environmental and social impact. So if the watchmakers want to really reduce their impact, they need to start now, especially in terms of precious metal sourcing as well as precious stones mining. This is where it can be. And actually, the watchmakers have solutions, so they have the power and they have also a commitment. They have even a responsibility to do it and show the way.
And as I know, tomorrow's discussion is sustainable innovations. Huge topic to cover in such a short time. Just tell us, what should we be looking out for there?
Yes, absolutely. Innovation has been at the center. It's really a key driver in watchmaking since its inception centuries ago, literally. So we'll have a look at what kind of innovation can be done in terms of lowering the environmental impact, because innovating is good, but why not do it responsibly? So I think there are a lot of initiatives underway, especially in terms of materials, in terms of packaging solutions, but not only. We'll see that tomorrow.
Just want to remind our audience that Sustainable Innovations is in fact taking place today, 1 p.m. sharp. You'll be there, and hopefully we'll see our audience there as well. You can catch that on the YouTube channel as well as the Watches and Wonders platform. Now, there you have it. That's your morning news wrap-up of day 4. There's still plenty more to come, so make sure to check out all the coverage across all the platforms. We still have our evening or late show with Ariana Corta, where she brings you all the highlights from the day. For now, that's it from me, but you'll see me tomorrow as well. Good evening, or good morning. Take care. I'm Olivia Chang.